Damn, son, where'd you find this?
I had spent about 18 months on tour with Alanis Morissette, and that was like my first real gig, and we toured the world, and it was crazy and exciting, and she was just the biggest thing in the world at that time. And so I saw the world and played all these festivals over in Europe, and when we were doing these festivals over in Europe, it was when the first Foo Fighters record was out. So they, this band that I really loved, I loved the first record so much, were playing all these festivals with us. So I met the whole band, and I met Dave, and I just really liked him right away. And he was really a good guy, you could tell right away, and just, you know, not pretentious and didn't take himself seriously, and was, you know, we just clicked right away when we met. I'd see him at a festival, and then I would see him here at the K-Rock, you know, Christmas, almost acoustic Christmas show, and then I'd see him at MTV Awards or something over that whole year or so span. I heard on the radio, funnily enough, that the Foo Fighters drummer had quit. So Dave called me, actually, and he said, hey dude, well, do you know any drummers? And I'm like, come on, man. And so he goes, okay, but yeah, he was like, well, Alanis is huge, like, and the Foo Fighters were still on their way up, you know. They had a big record and all that stuff, but he's like, I remember what he said was, if I come over and I want you to play drums for us, you have to play drums for us. You can't, like, say no, I'm not gonna, you know, whatever. So he came over to my house that I was renting in Topanga Canyon, and we just talked and sat down, and I had a drum set there, and, you know, we just knew automatically that we should be in a band together and be best friends, you know. So that's how that started, really. It's definitely not a completely normal, as in what it would be like, you know, for a normal, I'm the drummer and you're the singer and you're the guitar player and you're the bass player. I mean, Dave can play all the instruments just as good as everybody in our band can play, and in some cases better. He's a drummer first and foremost, really, is his first instrument, really, and probably the one he feels most comfortable on. So, you know, when I joined the band, I had to kind of cover his drum parts, which are difficult and different for me. And so I kind of had to find my place in the band and find my way to be creative in the band. And even still, like when we work on new records, you know, it's very much a team effort, and, you know, it's not like I don't, you know, I'm the drummer, so I should come up with everything. It's not like that. It's very much a team effort, and he's got a lot to say about the way he wants the drums to be. But, you know, most songwriters do anyways. Even if they're not a drummer, they have a certain, you know, if they're any kind of musician at all, they kind of know what they want to hear, you know. So it's been a process, a kind of a building process, but you know, it's my home.
These are great.
We practice more for recording than we do for actually playing live, funny enough. We don't seem to really... It seems like the ball starts rolling once we're done with a record, and we end up having less time to rehearse than we really need. So we do a lot of our rehearsing in the first 3 or 4 shows with the Foo Fighters. When we practice to make a record, it's not necessarily practicing to make a record, it's pre-production, and we do a lot of demoing. Like, we'll demo the same song like 5 or 6 times. Because Dave's really, one of the things that he's really good at and really interested always in is arranging songs. So the way a song starts in the first round of rehearsing and demoing is going to be probably a lot different by the end of when we actually get to the recording. I do love the studio, but especially with the Coattail Riders, because I have a bigger picture of it. You know, with the Foo Fighters, my job is to make sure I have good drum tracks, and I bust my ass to have really good drum tracks. With the Coattail Riders, I'm thinking more wide. I'm thinking vocal harmonies and kind of like, you know, getting Gannon to do some cool guitar stuff that I have in my head, and that's a different thing, and that's more like painting a picture. With the Foo Fighters, I'm just like the guy who draws in the lines over here, you know, so it's such a different thing. So with the Foo Fighters, I probably like live more. With the Coattails, it's a toss-up, because I love making the records. The best times in the studio are when things happen, you know, without us trying to make them happen. And those are usually some of our best songs. I mean, The Pretender, off the last record, which I think was probably the best song on it was the biggest hit off our last record, was an afterthought of Dave's and something we threw together really quick and went in and just did it. We do a lot of arranging. And, you know, sometimes there's a fear of overdoing that. Yeah. Absolutely. You have to be careful with that. It's such a different process. It's such a different way of thinking, a different way of making a record. Absolutely, completely different. Even though Dave was involved in the making of this Coattail Riders record, early on he actually helped out with a lot with the arrangements, and the lone arranger, Dave. And you're always proud when you're done and you finally made it through making a record, because there are moments when you're pulling your hair out and you don't ever want to see a recording studio or a microphone or a drum set again. I feel like Gretsch is kind of where I finally ended up, and because I tried a lot of them. I played Tama, I played Ludwig for a while, I played Slingerland for a while, I played OCDP for a while, because the owner of the company is a good friend of mine, Daniel. And I just kind of ended up at Gretsch. And one of the things that happened is, yeah, I do use the sort of vintage Gretches a lot for recording records, and always kind of have. We had done some sort of VH1 Rock Honors thing with Queen out in Las Vegas, and we were both playing drums with Roger Taylor. It was like 3 drummers at once playing "We Will Rock You" or something, and I sat, and he had a Gretsch drum set rented, and I sat down at the Gretsch drums and I played them, and I was like, wow, these sound amazing. And that's when I kind of went, I think I'm gonna play. I think that's gonna be my next venture. When we go out with the Foo Fighters, I can do whatever I can bring whatever I want, because everybody's gonna have their own tech, and we're gonna have, you know, 3 semis, and, you know, carrying lights and all that other kind of stuff too. So I can kind of go, well, you know, I do want to have that, you know, 70-inch gong behind me. I think what I'm going to have is basically a 22-inch kick drum, which is smaller, 2 inches smaller than the Foo Fighters one. I'm not sure, an assortment of different Gretsch snares. I'm not sure which one. Probably a wood snare. A 13-inch tom up front, and maybe a 16-inch floor tom, and a cowbell, and 2 crash cymbals, and hi-hat and ride. Small, really small, very, very just like, almost like a Ringo Starr kind of kit, you know, like real small. I tend to find that I actually sing better from behind the drums than when I do shaking my ass in front of a microphone. For some reason, maybe it's because I feel more comfortable. My pitch is better. I just feel more comfortable sitting behind a drum set. I may come up and sing a few songs like the piano or something like that. We may bring an electric piano on the road with us, and I may do that. But for the most part, I do like singing from behind the drums, and it's challenging, and I mean, we ran through like a set last week when we were rehearsing. And at the end of that set, my shirt, it was like you could have dumped it in a pool. It was just like dripping. And so not only is the physicality of playing the drums, but you know, you're singing the whole time, so you're taking these breaths and you're singing, and it's a challenge. I don't write to accommodate it. I really don't. I don't think about it when I'm working on songs for our record. I just write whatever I want, and there is challenging moments. Let's see, there was Dave Clark 5. I think he was a singing drummer. Don Henley, but I mean that's not like this stuff. Not that I don't love and respect Don Henley, but. And there are a few more. I can't really think of many more. My vocal phrasing can be a little clipped sometimes when I'm singing and playing drums. I would probably hold some notes longer if I wasn't playing drums. Like you kind of get it up, yeah, instead of yeah. It's a different kind of thing. It's a different kind of performance. I don't think it would work in an arena necessarily, but I think it's definitely a club thing for a whole show for the most part. The Foo Fighters will intentionally play a club show. Almost seems like almost every little leg of a tour we do, or every couple legs of a tour, we'll intentionally go play a club show, because there is something that you get doing that you don't get playing an arena. The arena is a big deal, and it's a a happening. It's like a big event, you know. But a club show is all about music and sweat and up close faces in your face, and that is great, and I do love that. And I still think, you know, I've played stadiums, I've played arenas, I played festivals in front of 100,000 people at one time, and I think I still love the club. Around 2003, I was recording another round of demos like I had done so many times before at my buddy Drew Hester's house, who's also a drummer. And he's also a really good engineer, and you know, he had like a little sort of home studio. So I started doing demos there, and his roommate, Gannon, is a guitar player. So he was there, and I'm like, hey, play guitar on these songs. And we got a week into it, and we had 4 songs done, and it had such a vibe. It wasn't recorded as high tech as you know, like say like a Foo Fighter record or something. It was very sort of lo-fi to a certain degree. And we just started, after 4 or 5 songs, I said, well, this is a record. At first, I went in there with the premise of, I'll do these demos, and then maybe I'll go to a real studio and make a record. And it started out that way, and we recorded a whole record in about 3 weeks. I had that one in the can for a long time. And put that out, and then we toured a bit, had a blast doing it. It's really a blast. And the band is me and Gannon Arnold, who's the guitar player, and Chris Chaney, who's a well-known, awesome bass player, does a lot of session work, as well as he played in one of the incarnations of Jane's Addiction and played with me in Alanis Morissette. And he's just a really amazing bass player. And then there's a guy named Nate Wood, who plays rhythm guitar and sings backgrounds in the band as well. And he's actually an amazing, phenomenal drummer too. And we went out on the road and we had a blast. We played clubs, sometimes to 25 people, and sometimes we'd fill a club, like here, we filled the Viper Room, and we just had a blast doing it. And so we got around and finally had some time. I had some time to make another record. So we made this new record called Red Light Fever. And I made it almost a year ago, started it almost a year ago, a little bit more than a year ago. And now, finally getting it out. We're going to go do a little bit of touring and take it to the people.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?